I won't be able to turn on lights or turn them off.
Okay.
So when it's red,
Yeah, when it's red, we can-
Then I call to order this meeting of the Indio Public Arts Commission on July 13th at 5:30 p.m. with a gavel. Can we have a roll call, please? Oh, sorry, Pledge of Allegiance. No, it's a roll call. It's been a while. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Thomas Beck,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Bill Shinsky,
here,
Commissioner EJ Newmeyer,
Here.
Commissioner Cecilia Cruz Sendejas.
Here.
Thank you. And Commissioner Vanessa Becerra.
Here.
Thank you.
Commissioner Becerra, since you're standing, can you lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And statement from Commission Secretary.
The general rules of courtesy for virtual meetings are as follows. Please be mindful of background noise when joining the meeting virtually. Virtual meeting participants must mute all live streaming devices to avoid playback when speaking. Virtual meeting participants must mute their microphone to help keep background noise to a minimum when they are not speaking. When your microphone is not muted, avoid activities that could create additional noise. Position your camera properly. If you choose to use a web camera, be sure it is in a stable position and focus at eye level if possible. If you'll be sharing content during the meeting, make sure you have files and/or links ready to go before the meeting begins. Members from the public participating virtually wishing to provide oral testimony must follow the instructions on the agenda and/or online in order to provide public comment for agenda or non-agenda items. Members from the public participating virtually wishing to provide oral testimony have 3 minutes to provide oral testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. And now do we have any public items for comment? Public comment
No public comments.
from the crowd that's here. All right, item number 5, we have no minutes because we didn't have a meeting last month. And item number 6, we have no presentations. So that brings us right to item 7.1, recommendation to City Council for 9 traffic signal box designs. The ad hoc committee met on July 1st for a blind review of the applications for the signal box beautification program. The committee's recommendations are presented for full commission consideration for the development of the commission's recommendation to the City Council. And we have Deborah here.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you in the flesh again. How are you? We have the 9 traffic signal boxes here for your review. But first, I just want to take you through the process of how we arrived here. I remember when we were speaking about the traffic signal box program, I talked about wanting to digitize the application process and adjudication process. And I did so using Airtable. What I really like about the platform is that you're able to customize the applications and be able to share them, redacting certain information as needed. So after I received, I believe 28 applications, I condensed them, removed any identifying information, and sent the link to the ad hoc committee, which was Commissioner Vanessa Becerra and Cici. So I asked them to, of course, review the guidelines and consider the theme when they're making their selections. And when we came together, of course, they've used their artistic expertise and judgment in the selections that they ultimately made. They were asked to select the ones that they liked the best. And so when they both shared, the ones that they had in common was sort of moved through to the final judging, section. And then the others, they kind of put forth the ones that they liked, that maybe the other didn't. They talked about it and then came up with the second half of what you'd see here today. Earlier this week, I did receive information from them. They would have liked me to include one of these selections that was heavily discussed through the adjudication process, but ultimately, we sort of erred on the side of not including it, but ultimately they wanted it included. And so we have a memo with that addition that's been added later on today, but that's one is included in the selections for you. So if I can have access to the Airtable link, that'd be great. And there's one more thing. The commissioners have not seen the names of the submissions until the staff report went out. So it was all a blind review. So here we have the 9. Now, first, I will just point out the one that was the late submission. I'm sorry, the late, recommended piece, which is this one here, number 15. Just click on it. This applicant's name is, Leah. I think it's Leah Torres. And the title of the work is It's Our Time. I'll just click it to make it open up bigger. And so one of the things we were talking about was writing on there. And as you know, part of our guidelines really discouraged writing, but this was not any sort of political speech or anything like that. It was kind of more of a personal revelation. And so we felt that it added to the artistic nature of the work. So that element that we were considering to be maybe something that we didn't want to do. Wait, how do I X out? We kind of, accepted it in this work here. So if you like, we can go through, you guys can tell me how you want to ingest this. How do I make it smaller? I think we need to make it smaller. Yeah. So we can go through each piece. God, mouse. Sorry, the mouse is fighting with me.
This one
Okay. Let's just start with number 9. So number 9, so I'm Jerome. I'm going to struggle with that last name, so we'll just say Jerome. It's called Infinite Galaxy. This is the image. Now, we didn't necessarily specify that people had to do sort of the wraparound design, because the 2 that we have right now were not that type of design. We really wanted to make it sort of open for anyone who had artwork that they felt would suit our theme that they wanted to include. So of course, anyone submitting a wraparound design obviously would be considered, but we didn't preclude just, single regular dimension work. So there's that one. And so this is a platform that we used, and it was really great. It hosted both our applications and adjudication and presentation also. So the next one is Diane Morgan. And this one is configured in the way that you'd see many traffic signal boxes configured. Beautiful. Just Glorious is the title of this one. Maybe this is there. I just showed you Leah's work, so I'll just go ahead to Lauren's. And this one's called Substitute Teacher. This one's a floral motif, really pretty, configured in a conventional way. And the numbers that you're seeing there is the number in which they submitted. So they get generic numbers. So when the committee was reviewing them, they only saw the numbers. This piece is by Christina Holcomb. Yeah, can't see so well. This one is very avant-garde. And again, it's configured in this way. So obviously we work with our vendor because I think they did a really great job of coming up with the ways to wrap the boxes that we wrapped earlier this year that were configured in the same way. So we definitely have to work with their graphic designers to make sure that we do justice to the work and make sure that the artist is happy with the work and that it really suits what we're looking for. This one is by Evelyn Sophia Rivera. Okay, small, but orange butterfly motif here. The next one is by Jessica. So one of the things that we talked about was, having the dreamscape concept, but also making sure that there wasn't too much blank space. So because the committee really enjoyed this work, we want to be able to sort of work with the artists to see if we can maybe add a little bit of texture where the blank spaces are, so that it still complies with what we're looking for. Or maybe again, work with the graphic designers who may be able to help us do that. Here we have Jessica Sorrento. Maybe I do need glasses, I don't know. And this one is the same. This was actually a favorite of both commissioners. And so again, there are blank spaces, which was a concern, but we're going to see if we can again work with the artists to create a little bit of texture that may not be so inviting for graffiti. The final piece, number 26. Oh, help me out here. Okay. If anyone wants to help me out, please do. Maybe I've been looking at small screens too close for a long time. I haven't had to read this far off in such a long time. And so this is another really colorful one, configured in the conventional, in the regular way, but we'll figure it out. It'll work. And so these are the selections that the committee made. They did try to make sure that there was a wide selection of different types of motifs that both went with the theme, but also for our community. And I think they did a great job. They really did good advocacy for the pieces that they wanted to see included. And I guess at this point, we're asking you to give your comments, if you have any inquiries about the process or anything like that, and we can go ahead and move to the next step.
The general theme was dreamscapes.
We came up with that one because the last two sort of had this very ethereal, otherworldly feeling. And so we figured, given everything that's going on right now, just kind of having an escape visually would help the community connect with the work. Also, the ad hoc committee is also here if you guys have any questions for them.
I had a question on the potential, the Leah Torres. What was the idea for putting the writing on the box so that it wouldn't be interrupted or that it would flow, or they get her to write it again and superimpose the image? Because the image is just a square basically, and then you're gonna try and adapt that to a cube, are you gonna end up losing the text in the process? Is that important? That it should
Um,
flow?
That's a good question. I was concerned originally when I was asked to select the first two because I didn't have images that were configured with that cube in mind. And the graphic designer we worked with sort of made a mock-up of the images and showed them to me. And it looked really good. So
Mhm.
one of them, they did wrap around, and that was JL's work, the green one. And the other one, they sort of repeated the pattern on two sides and used another part of the pattern that we got on the other two sides. So they didn't distort that one particular image. So I think it will be really a matter of working with them to say, well, this one might be okay if you do it this way, maybe not this one. And so I think it might be important to the artist. I think it'll definitely be important to the artist and just for anyone viewing it to be able to read all of it. It is kind of hard to read, and I don't think not that it's not meant to be read. I'm just giving my opinion here. I have not spoken with the artist. I don't know what the intention was, but it kind of just creates this backdrop for the person that we're actually looking at. So I don't know how essential that part of it is, but I guess when we do contact them and we start working with, I would kind of have to really show them the proof to see if how it's configured works.
Okay. And then like my other question, and it's a secondary thing we always talk about, in the background of our mind with the traffic signal boxes is, graffiti abatement, make sure.
Right.
So I'm just thinking what it would be like to see a bunch of writing on a
Oh,
box, and
yeah.
if someone will also hide a tag or if that
Yeah.
becomes an issue. It's just a concern. I don't know that people would do that, but it would make it easier to hide something in there.
That is true. I did like the idea that the text would create the noise in the background. So even if you wrote something, it wouldn't be clearly
wouldn't notice it,
visible.
yeah.
So it mightn't be worth someone's time to try to tag something like that, unless they, really go for goals. But so that's one of the things I did like about it, because I mean, it was one of those that raised all of the questions that you're raising while we're saying we don't want writing on there, but then there is writing. So I guess it will just be an experiment to a certain extent to see how it fares as compared to the others. I mean, I guess it's all technically us figuring out what works and what doesn't. But because of how close the text is to each other, I don't know that there's going to be any room for someone to.
I think the face is done really well. I'm just trying to figure if it's going to be, you're going to have to repeat it twice or four, I guess twice, maybe 4 times even, but I don't know if that would be the case.
Yeah, we definitely would have to work with the graphic design team. And I mean, they're artists too, so they would be able to take care with the image.
Okay. And then I only had one other comment on one. I didn't think that the smiley face one was a terribly strong one. It's big void spaces. It's the repeat image, and it's very quick done, I think, and it's the smiley face too.
I mean, I could see your point. I mean, you will have to really ask the adjudicators in this case, which are our 2 commissioners here. That is a concern. I think with each of them, we had to sort of be fair about how we looked at it and what the guidelines are and what moved them to make their selections. I did raise that issue about the blank space. But again, I think if that's the selection that they made, I can work with it, but I guess maybe you guys should speak to the selection if you'd like to.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the pieces I kind of put in there too. I really enjoyed it. I kind of connected with it. I also, there's artists out there who I relate to when they put sort of subliminal messages and just sort of like pop art. And there's an artist that I really like who this piece reminds me of, who talks about telling women not to smile, and it's kind of spoke to me in that way, and then having it as a mask, and it's kind of like the inner peace with emotion that the figure is giving. So I mean, there's more messaging in simplicity, and that's what I really gravitate towards.
It's a social comment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this, if I can speak on it too, like this one at a glance wasn't like the first thing that popped out to me and said, ooh, I want that one. But I think after looking over it a couple of times and hearing the feedback that Vanessa had, it really struck a chord in me where it felt like, oh, wait a minute, this is actually a very powerful piece, especially considering, you know, what we've gone through this past year, how the community might respond to it. Just seeing a smiley face might just be what we need, or a little bit of what we need to add a little happiness through our community. So I was sold on it. I think it's great.
I don't read happiness at all in that piece. You know,
It's all subjective, right? Yeah, we all will probably interpret it differently.
it's a cruel satire on how we're all expected to be happy. So.
So I guess ultimately, if you guys find any piece, you know, like I cannot give my stamp on that, you have the opportunity to pull it out and say, you know what, that's a no for me. But you know, in general, I feel like when we appoint an ad hoc committee or anyone to do a task, we trust them to do that work. And so unless we feel like they've made a grave mistake, we kind of have to stand by that. So if there are any significant objections to any particular piece, you guys, this is the opportunity to speak about it, maybe vote on it.
I don't have an objection. I just had a logistical question about a timeline before, from when we'd start to see these on the traffic signal boxes. Do we know how long that would take?
So I remember when I was doing the last two, the vendor I worked with at the time said there was a minimum timeline of 30 days.
Okay.
That is the minimum time. Because again, there needs to be graphic design work done and all these other things. You know, they would have to send it back and forth to me. So I would say, I would say let's give us, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks or something so that they can get it done. Because the last time I did ask them to rush, you know, to do it because Mark really wanted it done. So I can provide that as things go along. I can shoot you guys emails if that.
Yeah, it'd be
works.
great to be updated, but I'm glad to know it's even that's a relatively short time.
Yeah,
so that's
that
a
was
good
the
thing.
minimum deadline. So
And that's for all 9.
no, that was for the 2 that we put up before. That was the deadline I got for that one. So I guess now if we're gonna put it in their queue, I don't know what their workload is gonna be like. So I'm gonna have to, you know, present it and see what timeline I get. So yeah, everything on my list we talked
Cool.
about. So
This is an action item, but if there are any other questions or comments or thoughts.
Yeah, I had asked last meeting about the contract for this program and the language that was in it, and if it's been revised or if there was any adjustments since it was made.
So I put forth the revisions that I felt were appropriate for an exhibition opportunity. And there were conflicts about, you know, how that should happen. What I was told by my director and the city attorney was that they wanted to take it up the flagpole to speak with the city manager about it. And so at this point, I haven't gotten any feedback about when that's going to take place, but I understand why you're asking the question because we have 9 more and they would need to have contracts. So I guess it's just something I can, you know, raise again and see what comes from that. But ultimately, I feel like this batch would have the opportunity to see a contract before getting entangled.
Refresh my terrible memory. Was the issue of a contract because of the last 2 that were so rushed through that it just didn't happen?
There was an issue with the language in it, or I found issues with it because there was something stating that the city would have ownership of the piece even after the piece is sort of taken or decommissioned. And I kind of didn't agree with that language of the city's taking ownership of that artwork, even though the program is finished.
Which program?
The timeline for their piece in the traffic signal box program.
So the timeline in our guidelines says that I think it'd be 3 to 5 years that the pieces, depending on how they weather, of course, would be installed for. And so because it's a temporary opportunity, I feel that to take ownership route and STEM might be a bit much. And so I think the conversation now is between exhibition and acquisition. You know, this is an exhibition opportunity. We didn't commission these works. And, you know, if we're acquiring something, obviously you guys have been a part of that. You know, you get this original image, it's created for you, for your city. So obviously you're going to have more rights to it in terms of how you exhibit it and how you, you know, the copyright freedoms that you'd have with it, as opposed to an exhibition opportunity, which in some cases this is, where it's going to be exhibited for a period of time and then decommissioned. So, you know, long term, there are conversations in the field about, you know, how we approach artists' contracts with regards to copyright and, you know, the damage that it can do on different scales. So this is a traffic signal box, but they're on larger scales when it comes to sculpture, when it comes to digital work, like what is the fair use of that copyright? And, you know, people have varying opinions. I have mine. I've sort of done some research about it and read a few things. One of my colleagues from PAXOCAL, which I was the chair of last year, she wrote for Americans for the Arts on, you know, sort of being a bit more conservative in terms of how much ownership, how long and what type of ownership we keep over works that are submitted to us in programs like these. And so when we were sort of creating the contract, I wrote it, but of course Roxanne, you know, she lawyered it. But I wrote it to that effect where we would, of course, retain the ability to, you know, have it in our catalogs and, you know, for those purposes, for, you know, ever, but not for reproduction and you know, reinstallation at another date. Or, you know, reprise in some other way without explicit approval from the artist and perhaps another payment. I'm like, we're offering these artists $750, and over the period of 5 years, that works out maybe not that much, right? $150, I believe. So I think perpetuity then, you know, takes that amount that they get paid for the work so low that it's, you know, it's not within keeping of trying to support artists and value their work, in my opinion. But, you know, of course, I want to make sure that we are protecting the city, you know, with the kind of contract that we offer, that we're not going to place ourselves in a position where we use work and we get in trouble for it or we get sued. So it's really important, I think, for us to have the discussion about where does protection of ourselves end, and, you know, kind of going over the line begin. And I think that's going to be a huge discussion because many different cities do things in many different ways. And we still haven't settled on where that line is for the contracts.
So
That's all, yeah.
essentially this program right now is that, okay, the artist is getting paid $750 to use their image for a period of 5 years. After that period of 5 years, the artist can do whatever they want with that image. But during that period of 5 years, they cannot. Is that how the
Yes,
contract states?
I believe so.
I believe,
Don't have it in front of
I think, the way I read it is they don't have the rights after the 5 years.
So the city would retain rights to the work in perpetuity.
The city would,
Yes,
even though it's an exhibition.
yes.
It's not a purchase.
Right,
They're not buying the actual piece.
right,
You're buying the
Buying-
rights for 5 years.
right.
Okay.
That's my argument.
Yeah, because I see it, after a period of 5 years, the artist should be able to do whatever they want.
Right. And so does the city have the ability to reprise this work? So after 5 years and that, oh, we want to do another traffic signal box. Let's just use that work we used from before.
Then you pay the artist again.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's not that,
Yeah.
but I think I understand that many cities use a conservative approach because they're fearful of, well, what if? And I think we need to just really draw the parameters really clearly. I think obviously we want to be able to archive our work. We want to be able to show the archives, even if something isn't here anymore within our catalogs. But I don't think, especially for an exhibition, we should be able to then recreate that person's work in whole or in part without their consent
Right.
or payment.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, if it's for a certain period, it should be cataloged like any exhibition.
right, obviously, yeah,
It's a documentation of that period of time.
right. So people would be able to come in and see what was there.
Yeah.
But
And
that's where the conversation's been taken to. And, again, we haven't been all together. This is the first time with us being all together. And I know that the new city manager is extraordinarily busy. He's only been here a couple of months. And so I'm not sure if this is something that would be first on his desk. But I think as we try to advance this program, making sure that the process goes in a linear fashion and we don't jump around, because we can't install someone's work and then hit them with a contract that says, oh, it's ours now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll have that conversation again. So I can update you as to what happens. Thank you for your question.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? So the action item is to recommend these pieces of artwork to city council. So if we're ready to take action on that, we can have a motion to vote on it.
Okay, I'll move that we accept the ad hoc committee's suggestions and recommend the 9 to city council.
I'll second that motion.
I'll do a roll call vote. Chairperson Beck,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Shinsky,
Yes,
Commissioner Newmeyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Becerra,
Yes.
and Commissioner Cruz Sendejas.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Great, thank you. And thanks so much, Deborah, for figuring out the online application process and organizing all that. And thanks to the ad hoc committee for taking time to go through all those. It's great that people were actually able to submit stuff. And that was probably due in large part to the fact it was easy because it was online and accessible. So that was awesome. Item 8.1, our next item is a staff item, the Sarbala K update. This council approved commission recommended project was suspended due to the issues arising around COVID-19 because the city and state have fully opened for in-person gatherings. Businesses, including Golden Voice, have resumed operations. The installation team indicated their ability to resume planning for the installation of Sarbala K. I don't know if I covered everything in the blurb,
That
but-
kind of covered most of it, but Golden Voice is back in business. I heard from from Paul Clementi, I believe the beginning of July, just a few days ago, and they are ready to resume. So we are working with Public Works to kind of get started. Our goal is to complete installation by the end of October. So we're on a really quick timeline. The smallest monkey wrench, I feel like we can figure it out. I know we can figure it out, is that when we were going to install back in 2019, early 2020, there was another project slated for Dr. Carrion Park. So we were supposed to install first, and then they were supposed to install later. Because of COVID-19 and the sort of topsy-turvy world, they're doing their installation. So some of the logistics have sort of changed and we have like a small space to work within. But Public Works is being really gracious in providing support to us. Certain things might be different, but everyone's really on board. PD offered to escort the work. And, Public Works is helping us out. Planning is being really supportive. So I see this going forward. And hopefully by the end of the year, we would have a fully installed artwork. Fingers crossed. So I just wanted to update you guys. And I just want to let you guys know the artist, Francis Carey, he won an award in 2020, the Jefferson Foundation Medal in Architecture. And so again, we're really lucky to be able to install an artwork from such an acclaimed person, to have his work installed. I think it would be one of the largest installations in the Valley if we can get it done. So I'm feeling really positive about it, and I'm currently working on it. So just wanted to let you guys know that something's happening, something's moving forward. So
Cool. Thanks for the update. Does anyone have any? No.
I just have a question.
Thanks for the update. Any questions?
Who's handling materials and construction? This is Golden Voice was footing the bill for that.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Who's handling the purchase of materials for the construction, the forms for concrete rebar, all that sort of thing?
So I remember when we created the budget that we had, that was based on the numbers that they gave us. So it's my understanding that they're going to do that and they'd be reimbursed.
Does anyone know if they've procured any of the material? My world in the last year is that everything has gone up double as far as material.
Oh,
So are they going to be asking for more in the budget?
I certainly hope not.
It's something,
I hope not. It's a lot.
the world we're in right now is steel is like twice as much as where it was. That's my daytime job. And wood is more expensive and concrete is more expensive than it was in 2019 and definitely 2020. So I'm just want to make sure that there isn't going to be a huge ask for more to offset the budget even farther.
So the last time we spoke, I sort of asked a similar question. Hey, is everything, can we resume from where we left off? And I got a yes on that, but I can follow up just to make sure that that has been thoroughly considered. And if there are any budgetary changes, I would come to you guys and let you, have a discussion about it. So I will follow up on that if that is a concern to you.
Yeah, it's just a concern. I just want to make sure that neither side has a sticker shock or, oh, shoot, we don't have any coverage for this, because it's a very real problem for everyone with any kind of project right now.
Thanks for letting me know. I had no idea.
Any other thoughts, questions?
Well, if someone from Golden Voice is telling you, there's not going to be any increases, have them put it in writing. Because I don't trust them.
I trust that they want to do a good job and they really want to see this piece installed. They want to see it here in the Valley. They want to see it looking good. So,
Then
and that will mean
if they
that
have increases, they can cover them.
right. If they have increases, they will let us know and we'll figure out what we're going to do about that.
And then we'll just get an update next meeting. So then we'll have more info. So that's
Yes.
helpful. Great.
And whether our contract even has a clause, like in construction contracts, they'll usually have a no escalation clause in there. So we may be covered on that on our end. I just want to make sure that there's no surprises for either side if we want this project to go forward without a hitch or anything like that. So
I will review the information and I will ask him to have a look at the numbers again.
okay, we may have to look at that if we've got a contract executed with them.
We do.
Because they're, like I said, in a lot of language for any kind of building right now is they're putting in no escalation. You're not allowed to get it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's there and maybe they just eat that.
Yeah. And I know they're a city partner in so many other ways. And so I don't think that there's a desire to, I mean, he said it before, even in this chamber, that they have no desire to profit from this installation, just to see that this work finds a good home. So, but I think those questions are significantly valid and I will follow up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Item 9 is commissioner items. If anyone has anything they'd like to share, update us on. Or not, that's cool too. Going once, going twice.
I got funding to do a series of creative workshops for veterans. I have a local individual who funded the entire program. So that'll be happening most likely in the fall. And yeah,
That's great news.
that's the latest.
That's good. Any other items, Commissioner Cruz, on the screen, if you have anything? All righty, then we can have a motion to adjourn, if someone would like to do that.
I'll motion to adjourn this meeting at 6:10.
I'll second.
Chairperson Beck,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Shinsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Neumeier,
Yes.
Commissioner Becerra,
Yes.
and Commissioners Cruz and Tejas.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Cool. This
you.
meeting is adjourned with the gavel.